Twinship, and this is going to be a lesson that you really have to listen carefully to. So really make sure you write these down. All right, we're going to get started. Our objective is to use multiplication properties with exponents to evaluate and simplify expressions. Okay, let's get started. First, we're going to talk about a rule. If you look at powers on an exponent to a base to an exponent, and then you put 5 bases of 3 and 2 more bases of 3. If you notice, you add the 5 bases and the 2 to give you 7. So the answer to that would be 3 to the 7th. Notice that the relationship is the factors and the fact you have to add the exponents and the product. 5 plus 2 is 7. All right, let's try these two. Write down number 1. We just did this one. 3 to the 2nd and 3 to the 5th equals 3 to the 7th. You don't have to simplify that any further. All right, now we're in the second one. We're going to have to look at the 2's. You have a 2 to the 4th and a 2 to the 2nd. That equals 2 to the 2nd. You add the exponents. 3 to the 4th and 3 to the 2nd is 3 to the 6th, and that's all you can do to that problem. Number 3, you put the Q's together. Alphabetically, since Q is first, we're going to put Q to the 9th and R to the 2nd. Pretty easy, huh? Now we're going to do number 4, which is the ends. I'm going to put an N to the first step here so I don't forget. 3 and negative 4 is negative 1. And n to the negative 1 times n to the 1. Add the exponents. That gives me n to the 0. So the final answer to this one is 1. Now, if you're doing powers to a power, let's write this out. That's 4 to the 3rd 2 times. That's 4 to the 3rd here and 4 to the 3rd here. You have to add the exponents so it gives you 4 to the 6th. So basically what you're doing is you're multiplying the 3 and the 2 to give you 4 to the 6th. Now notice we did not change the base of 4. Okay, so basically what you're doing on this set is you're multiplying the exponents. Number 5, multiply your exponents. That's 5 to the 8th. Number 6, multiply your exponents. 3 times 0 is 0. 4 to the 0 is 1. Now notice I'm not going to make y'all work out the 5 to the 8, but anything to the 0 power you must reduce to 1. Number 7, we've got double problem here. We are first going to have to work this out, and then after we finish that, we're going to have to multiply it to x to the 4th. So multiply these exponents. That gives me x to the negative 15. The x to the 4th stays the same. Now I'm multiplying, so I have to add the exponents. That's x to the negative 11. You can't end with negative exponents, so I have to go one more step. The negative exponent means it goes on the bottom. So x to the positive 11 goes on the bottom with a 1 on the top. Okay, keep going. Let's go to number 8. Oh, sorry, not number 8. We're going to work on powers of products. If we have an 8x in the parentheses, that means I need 3 8x's. Then you're going to take and notice that that means 8 to the 3rd and x to the 3rd. Now we do have to work out the 512 this time. 8 times 8 times 8 is 512. So basically what you're doing is you're going to take the 8 to the 3rd power, and then the x also gets the 3rd power. Okay, let's try one. And number 8, the negative just means it's negative, so I'm going to leave the negative there. I've got to take the 2. It's kind of like you're doing distributive property backwards. So that's going to be 2 to the 2nd and y to the 2nd. Now notice that negative is just sitting out front. It's not in the parentheses, so there's only 1. So I have a negative here, so my answer is going to be negative 2 squared is 4, y squared. So it's negative 4 y squared. That is a negative number. It doesn't mean that it goes on the denominator. That's just the answer. All right, let's try number 9. This one is in parentheses. The negative is in the parentheses this time. So that means negative 2 to the 3rd, y to the 3rd. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8, y to the 3rd. Notice I don't have any negative exponents, so these answers are all in the numerator. Number 10, I need to take this 2 and distribute it to each of the terms inside the parenthesis. So that's x to the 12th times y to the negative 6. Now I have a negative exponent, so this has to go in the denominator, y to the positive 6. My x to the 12th is positive, so it's going to stay on the top. That is your final answer. Okay, now I want to make sure you're aware of this. When you're simplifying exponential expressions, you cannot have any negative exponents when you finish. The same base cannot reappear more than one time, because then that means you could simplify it further. Powers cannot be raised to powers. That means like x to the 3rd to the 2nd. You have to simplify that. Products cannot be raised to powers. Quotients cannot be raised to powers. So let's look at these examples. All of these are simplified all the way down. And the non-examples, in this one I have a negative exponent, so that a squared would have to go in the bottom. Also, I have an a, so I'd have to put those together first. These two x's would have to be put together. This 3 and the 4 would have to be multiplied. This 4 would have to go to both of them. This 5 would have to go to both of them. And this quotient would need to be reduced. Let's try number 11. This 3 is going to have to go to both. So that's going to be 4 to the 3rd, p to the 3rd. 4 to the 3rd is 64, p to the 3rd. We have all of our positive exponents. We don't have any power to a power, and there's nothing else that needs to be multiplied. Let's try 12. I have negative 5 to the 2nd, so I have to power the coefficient, and then I need to multiply the exponents. Negative 5 squared is negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25 t to the 4th. That's all.